Aqua friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Nicole and today I have this beautiful Eiffel Tower with a sunset behind it that I thought I would do. This is something new for me because I have not done very many buildings or structures or cityscapes or anything like that. And I kind of wanted the structure to have a lot of good contrast, but not painted in a really realistic fashion. So I'll show you what I did here. I'm going to start off doing the beautiful sky wet on wet. So you're going to wet that whole paper really well, and a nice warm yellow of your choosing. I'm using my favorite Aussie red gold and putting a little bit of that on there. As far as the sky colors that I'm using, I have it's either peacock blue or a phthalo yellow shade. So I do love warm blues for my skies, and so I'm using that. And I'm going to leave some paper white in some areas just to up the contrast here, kind of to show some wispy clouds, kind of like a dusk setting. And I am using a large 1.5, or I think this is actually just a 1-inch brush, flat brush. And notice I'm just going right over the Eiffel Tower too, because we're going to add a lot more paint for the building, but I want a nice cohesive sky here. So I'm switching to my round brush. I have a thick mixture of my paint so that I'm getting more pigment on my paper. So since my paper's already wet, I can get a really nice juicy mixture of some really thick paint. I would say it's kind of like a heavy cream mixture that I'm using just to increase that contrast in the clouds here. I especially like the top part of the sky a lot darker. It adds some nice contrast to the painting. So since my paper is still wet, I can still kind of play around to get those values that I want to get some more contrast. Now, a trick that I love to do is use a hacky brush, a dry hacky brush, and for the final touch, you just slightly brush that over the paper. It does help everything blend softly. Now, once that whole thing is dry, I'm going to mix up some cobalt blue and burnt sienna to make my own grays. And for the Eiffel Tower, I'm going to start off with the tower part and just kind of checking out my color to see if I like that grayish blue color. Now I'm going to go straight into adding a whole bunch of water to the Eiffel Tower. Water where I plan on doing large strokes. I kind of want to do this structure a little on the loose side, but still have some nice dark defining lines here and there that'll bring it all together. I do love how this turned out as my first kind of structure painting. I'm pretty happy with it. So now that everything is nice and wet, I'm going to go in with my orange color. So along with the burnt sienna, because that's mostly what I'm using here, it's great, it's orange, but I did want like a burst of orange, so I'm adding some orange that I have in my palette, which I believe is a transparent papyrus orange from Daniel Smith, because the sun is glowing behind it, and I thought adding that sun-kissed edge would be really nice. Now, without mixing them together, I'm just going to add the blue. It's going to mingle and sort of create a gray color because they're contrasting colors on the color wheel. The blues and the oranges will make a gray. I also like some parts that are more blue and some that are more orange, and it gives it, you know, something interesting to look at, not just one solid gray clunk of metal here. So some of the main beams and balances, the horizontal lines, the vertical lines, I am painting those in next. So adding a little more blue to the mix, getting a little bit of a darker mixture here, a thicker amounts of paint. I'm off to a good start, but it's nowhere near dark enough. We need something, some contrast here, something interesting to look at. And notice just adding in some of these dark areas is already making that building pop forward. The very tippy top, getting that in there. So I keep looking at my reference photo and I keep seeing where these main beams are, where I need to put my horizontal lines, and then as we come down we have these beautiful arches that we'll be putting in next. Now I'm going to spritz that area because I kind of want everything to kind of blend together. I'm not going for super realistic. The best paintings are when you can tell a story in as little strokes as possible. It seems, I think, that it's more romantic. It just blends in better. It lets the viewer finish their own story. So I've switched to my script liner brush because I do want to make some really nice dark lines here. Some of the main structures, I'm going over them. Now there is like this cross-hatching texture on this building, and I'm not worried about getting absolutely every line in there. I just want the idea of the texture. Going for some very dark lines here, needing to have some more contrast. My paper is still wet, so these lines will soften. So notice I'm trying to make these bold strokes. I'm trying to be confident and get her done once. And getting in those darker lines and the arches does really make it pop forward. So I'm pretty happy with it. We're getting in the final stretch here, folks. So some other different things that I tried with this is also scratching out some of these little windows. Some of the lighter areas I am going to use a corner of a credit card. I thought that that worked out quite well. Initially, I'm trying to put in those little areas with my script liner brush, but it really wasn't showing up. And I thought the paint in this drying stage right now, so you have just, it's still slightly damp. This is the perfect time to take a credit card or your palette knife in order to make some lighter areas here. So I'm going to go for it. Now I found that a little thick, so I cut this old credit card into a tiny little strip, and this worked out perfect. So scratching in those lines like I see in the reference photo. So kind of nice to have these different textures. Now I am spritzing that area a little bit. I kind of wanted to have a soft edge here where it kind of bled over in its own little area. But it wasn't quite working out the way I planned. So I ended up just increasing some of those lines there. I felt like that still needed to be a little darker. As it's starting to dry, you can really judge your values, and watercolor always dries about 25% lighter. So you kind of have to pay attention to what's going on your paper and adjust accordingly. All the main areas that I really wanted to grab your attention, I am going over those and making them darker. On the very tippy top, we'll etch out some area there. And that is it. The painting is done. I'm really, really happy the way it turned out. Let me know what you guys think and if you're going to give it a try. Thanks for watching. See you next time.